Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Hell hath no fury than a woman scorned, or two for that matter in the case of this week. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I am Agent Aaron Peterson, and frankly, I don't know about you, Troy, but I'm getting a little tired of seeing half-naked dudes running around in towels on my TV on Monday nights. That could stop anytime. Thank you, Blacklist. But enough about my issues. Let's talk about number 22 on the Blacklist, The Scimitar, which aired November 3rd, 2014. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at goldenspiralmedia.com/theblacklist, and we offer you a new episode every Wednesday until the show moves to Thursday.
Exactly. Not to confuse anybody out there.
We should, before we move on, we really should reiterate that because we're coming up on that fall finale.
Yes.
You want to explain how that's going to work?
Sure. So basically what's going to happen, we are going to have one more episode next Monday night. We are not going to give the name of the episode because Aaron said last week that I'm not allowed to.
I don't want to know.
So
spoiler, so we don't want it spoiled.
Exactly. And you know what? I actually talked to a friend who read the synopsis, and he told me that what I was thinking was not actually what was going to happen.
I don't want anything in my head. I just want to watch it. I want to breathe it. I want to experience it. I want to live it.
So it'll air Monday night. That'll be the fall finale, 8 episodes in. We'll have our usual show on Wednesday morning for your commute into work here in the States. And then we'll disappear for a little while. Maybe we'll have a recap episode. Maybe we'll even get some of the actors or who knows to come on during the break until the Blacklist returns after the Super Bowl in February. There'll be one episode after the Super Bowl, and then it will be in its new time slot on Thursday nights. So I think our plan is going to be to record a short kind of reactions episode for the Friday morning drive in, and then we'll have our full breakdown episode on Monday mornings for the Monday morning commute. I think is going to be the plan right now.
Okay. Well, now we can go back into what you were going with.
There you go. So closing up shop from last week's creepy Halloween episode, Carol actually brought up a really good point. I wanted to talk about this with you, Aaron, because she kind of got me thinking a little bit differently about Matthew and the fact that he had this taxidermy friends, right? The campfire clan, as we like to call them. His mother told him to basically kidnap the victims and then make them the friends, quote unquote, for Matthew. So she kept Matthew hidden away from everybody in the world. And I think he was actually crazy enough to really consider that the men he killed and stuffed his friends. He actually has the conversation around the campfire, and to him, that was real. So the question is when they tagged these people, were they making sure that Matthew only killed the tagged people rather than anybody out in the world? Because he was very simple-minded in nature, and he actually needed to have that very specific distinction. And I thought that was really interesting that we always think about the bad guys as being bad guys, but maybe it's not the bad guy's fault. Maybe he was manipulated into it. Maybe he was coerced into it by his mother, or maybe he just was a little bit different. And because of that, he needed some coaching and some hand-holding in order to get through the every day-to-day tasks.
He needed some hand-holding as he stitched random bodies together. I think he was coddled enough. You know what I mean? The guy took baths with his mom. Yes, I mean, that makes sense. I'm sure he's simple-minded. He didn't realize exactly what he was doing, and he had some mental issues, some mental incapacities, as I said last week. But he's still just crazy. And, you know, that doesn't excuse crazy. Just because your mama made you do it doesn't. Ask Norman Bates.
And you're still promoting the fact that murder is acceptable, which is not acceptable.
Generally speaking, I hold firm that there are occasions where I think it's probably okay. But we're not going to talk about that here. No,
definitely not. Definitely not. And then we actually had our first caller, our first voicemail, if you will, using our send voicemail button over at goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback, who also had some thoughts on the Mombasa cartel.
Hey guys, this is Jess, just sending in some late feedback on the Mombasa cartel. First of all, Lizzie is acting a lot more like Red, especially with the payoff at the end with what was behind the door. And I so called that. I knew that Tom was going to be behind that door. I think a lot of people did. I think they kind of made it pretty obvious. But still, I was really excited I actually got something right. And then I think that Zoe is Berlin's daughter. So, I mean, I still don't think that it's Red's daughter, even if it is Naomi's daughter. But I think it might actually be Berlin's daughter because they've made such a big deal about that and about how the whole animosity between Red and Berlin is related to the fact that Berlin thinks that Red killed Berlin's daughter. So that's my theory on the girl, quote unquote. And that's really it. I really loved the quote, "We are what we do." I think that explains the motivations behind so many characters in this show. And it's just kind of fascinating how you can just think about how each different person is kind of playing that out right now. That's all I have for now. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Jess. We appreciate it. And if any of you want to leave a voicemail, you can do that on the webpage. We'd appreciate it. Well, for over a week now, we've been asking the big question, how the heck did Liz capture Tom? And, well, you all responded emphatically. On Twitter, Christopher said, "I think Liz has had Tom from the moment he was shot and nursed him. Cooper knows and has helped from the beginning of that." That's kind of the theory I subscribe to. Jess said, "Liz tracked Tom using intel from Red off-screen. Thought Tom's glasses were only for his cover, not real."
Like a Clark Kent kind of situation.
Yeah. Over on Facebook, we had over 50 comments on this topic, so it is definitely a hot topic. Will said, "I think Tom was in the car, and shortly thereafter, she caught on and got him. It makes more sense that she took him more recently, as she wouldn't have had the time or capacity to have taken him when Red was with her after he was shot."
Solid.
Any of these you disagree with so far?
No, that's solid. I could buy that.
Man, so many theories. Why don't they just show us? Susan said at the end of last season in the apartment, Red kills Blacklist person Tom is shot, but still alive. Red wants to finish him off. Liz tells Red, "I'll take care of it." Next scene, blood on wall where Tom was both Tom and Liz gone. Susan, I appreciate the comment. Maybe some more commas, because I'm not sure where to break it apart.
Yeah, basically she's saying that because Liz told Red that she would take care of it, and then Tom was gone at the end. And I think Susan is more onto something based on this week's episode when they're actually in the car having the conversation about, "Hey, how did you get this intel, Liz?" And Liz is like, "Well, it was just a CI." And he's like, no, you're bluffing, right? And he's like, "Well, if I would have known better, I think you would have gotten it from Tom." And he literally calls her out. So I seriously think that based on this conversation that she did take Tom after he was shot, much earlier than we thought originally. I think she's onto something.
Then how do you explain the glasses?
Well, that's coming up, I think, in a few other comments we got on this topic. So Monica said, "Realistically, how could Liz have transported him anywhere or taken him to a hospital without Red knowing? My spin, Red had Mr. Kaplan come clean up. Tom was still alive. They spirited him away to keep him alive and get info on Berlin, and Red let Liz think he doesn't know about Tom, but somehow he let her find him. I always thought the guy in the car was the Mossad agent. Then Tom, then the sniper. Heck, everything always changes. I don't know."
Okay. Sounds good.
So do you think Tom had Mr. Kaplan take him, or do you think Red had Mr. Kaplan take Tom away and then Red allowed Liz to find him?
No, not at all. I think Red thinks Tom is still alive because he hasn't seen a body, and I think in his line of work he needs to see a body to believe that person is dead. But he realizes that Liz is getting information from somewhere. Somewhere she's getting all the intel that she needs. It's got to be coming from Tom. He obviously made reference to it. It's not the first time I think he's made reference to it. So I believe that's firmly what he believes. He's just trying to get proof. He has no proof, but that's what he thinks. And to wrap these up, Lydia, I don't know. It seems like he's been locked in that room for longer than 2 weeks. Sure does, Lydia. And all I saw was I saw a sink. I still haven't seen a restroom. The man's got a potty. You know what I mean? So I really need to see a bathroom at some point. Red asked Lizzie if she had a Secret Santa in the second episode. So she's had him since then. Have they said how long it's been since he's been shot? Recovery takes a while. Guy's half dead now and in shackles. It's not his year. LOL.
Very true. Very true. And the bigger important thing is that Liz actually tells Tom that it is November. And I think Tom is just really pissed off about that because he can't participate in the Movember movement because he's already got full facial hair going. Got to start clean on the 1st of November.
If you believe in that. Yeah, if you believe in that theory. I think Movember is really an excuse for most guys just to not shave. And there's like 5% of the population that take it seriously. Unfortunately. Tom's not one of them, by the way. And Ahmad wants one whole episode dedicated to that. Like, where did Tom go after being shot? How did he end up there, etc. I agree with him. I don't know if I want a whole episode of it. I mean, he gets taken, right?
Well, you'd want a whole episode if you could see Liz torture him the whole time.
I think she's torturing him quite a bit right now.
Just food deprivation.
He's chained to a basement and he's got no bathroom. That's torture. And
let's be clear. We finally know that he's not chained to a basement. He's chained to the bowels of a ship.
Okay, I want to point out, this is very important to me. No, in the previous episode that you saw, Tom, maybe it's 2 episodes you've seen, Tom, you never hear birds and water and other ship horns and everything else. In this one episode, I heard it like 10 times. It was kind of ridiculous in that respect.
But she's in this interior room or something before she goes down these stairs to the bowels of the ship. So maybe in the interior where Liz is swinging her keys, having her beer, talking to Rolando.
No. I heard it while she's talking to Tom. This episode, go back and watch it. I watched it twice because I had to rewind it and go, what? Yeah, you'll hear birds while she's talking to Tom. It's a funny little point. Maybe the birds weren't awake at that time. Who knows?
Could be. It's not the time of night that you're supposed to be there, according to Rolando.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a ton more on this topic. Like I said, I lean with Susan. I think based on the conversation in the car that Liz did actually take him from the scene of the crime at the end of season 1. How she did that is the mysterious question because Red had to have eyes on that apartment as she came out of the place. So let's hope that Hamad is right and we'll get a season 2 episode, maybe season 3 episode of what happened in that lost time, if you will. And of course, if you want to answer the profiling question of the week, you can do that right over on our Facebook group. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed. Join our group, get in on the discussion because clearly 60 comments later, that's a lot to talk about. Now let's go ahead and break down this week's episode with our case profile.
This week's case profile starts with Samar having a little Mission Impossible style assassination in Dubai. I thought this was quite the start to the episode. We're going to get into her character a little bit more, but I really just want to bring this up. I never saw this leading to a guy getting thrown out a window.
Oh, no, not at all. And at first, I had to question whether it was Samar or not, because at first it looked like Samar. And then because the guy got thrown out the window, I was like, there's no way she would do that. Why would she do that? What's her motive? So maybe it was somebody else. But nope, it was her.
It took me totally by surprise. And I was feeling a little bad for Aram for a little bit because, he's got a little crush on her. And then I felt better by the time it was over. Like, oh, see, she's not having a fling. She's flinging people out windows.
Nice one.
It just came to me. Sorry. Red informs Liz about the Scimitar, who is a part con man, part hitman. And I guess the reason that he informs her. Now, here's where I need your help a little bit. And I've watched this episode twice. Normally, throughout the episode, at least by the end, you can tell exactly why Red wanted this person found, right? It's usually part of some other scheme or there's a double reason for it. I didn't really get one out of him wanting this unless he is using it as a bargaining chip with Samar because he'll need more of her help later.
The only thing that I could come up with was that this person that Red was talking to, the Iranian that he was having, whatever it was, some meal that he mentioned, about the nuclear scientists and how the nuclear programs work. My guess is that there was something in there that Red needed, or more importantly, he needed something from Ali later on. Granted, it wasn't a towel or a set of golf clubs. But maybe because the Scimitar and these scientists were tied to Ali, maybe it's because he needed to find Ali again to have some open dialogue with him, because he specifically mentioned, it's like, I'm so glad I didn't kill you, Ali, when I had the chance before. And so maybe he had to tie up those loose ends. Maybe that's what it was about.
Okay. See, I got more of, I feel like he's positioning himself. Like he's getting ready for some moves down the road, and he needs to make sure that he has Samar in his back pocket. And I think, in my opinion, it seemed like he felt like he didn't have her. Like he had a close relationship with her, but not in his back pocket. And I think this whole situation worked to his benefit, because now, he basically throws the guy at her, drops him in her lap, explains to this guy, hey, you had a hand in what happened to your brother. And then, she takes the steps that she takes with him, which we'll get to in a little bit more detail later. And now I think he has her. So she can't really be a full part of that task force now.
So she's 90% committed when she hangs up on the phone with Aram to call Dembe to say, hey, Red, we got a problem. And now because of this, she's 100% committed.
Yeah, pretty much.
To Red.
To me, it feels like now he knows, especially because he feels like he's losing grasp with Liz to some degree. I think in his mind, at least now I have this person in check.
All right, I'll buy that.
That's just my theory. Well, Cooper's informed by the Assistant Secretary of NCB. Looked it up. Don't know what it is. You know what NCB is? That's just a made-up government organization?
Nuclear Control Board?
I like it. That's probably what it means, too. Or it's some ridiculously long acronym that makes no sense. Yet there are 3 scientists the Scimitar is targeting. 2 he can put in lockdown. 1 is getting ready to give a speech. And apparently it's a very important speech, because she can't just go on lockdown. She has to give this speech, right?
Right.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's going to cause too much commotion to basically swoop in and pull her out, and it'll cause too much attention because she's just an average civilian giving a speech. She hides in the open daylight because we don't put them into witness protection because it would draw too much attention to them.
Then you say she has a flu, or she just caught Ebola, so she's going to be in quarantine for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you got to do. Now, explain to me how you saw this 3-person hiding in plain sight theory. Like, what is the purpose of this? These are the smartest scientists we have.
Yeah, and this is the one part where hiding people in plain, and this might be true because technically Red's been kind of hiding in plain sight, and it was through Liz, through Keen, that Berlin found Red. So, I mean, it's a strategy, I guess, right? You can either put them in witness protection and completely hide them underground and have people around them, but it does single them out, point attention. I mean, when the governor's kids or the president's kids are being followed around by Secret Service. And so, yeah, it could draw attention. And these are the people that are in charge of Cloud Top, the nuclear warhead project designed for the U.S. that will put any other developing nation ahead by years if they got their hands on just one of these scientists. So their protocol is to hide them out in the open, give them standard blue collar, $8 an hour jobs, and just make them like the average Joe and, go with it from there, and we'll see what happens. So
$8 an hour jobs do not give speeches, just so you know. Otherwise, my son would be given one right now, and he's not.
That would be scary. But yeah, I guess it's a tactic. It could work. I could be a nuclear scientist and you wouldn't know.
I would prefer you weren't, because I know you.
Right.
And you're not good. You can't do math on the show.
That's right.
I don't want you in charge of my nuclear program. No.
No.
But some people just shouldn't hold the button.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird, I thought, but for this show, plausible at the same time. I could buy into it.
Okay. Well, they think that, here's what they think. They think that the Scimitar is targeting John Everett Reese. Turns out he was basically bait to get Keen and Ressler and find out who and where number 3 was. I don't know if I think this is a genius plan or a horrible plan. Do you have an opinion on this?
I thought it was a genius plan in the drawing them out to find number 3. Why the facade of the hospital and taking care of them, and even having the Scimitar hand Liz the phone to be able to call Cooper other than the phone trace. Yeah, which I think is what that was intended for on the second watch, was to do the phone trace. But the whole hospital scene was very elaborate, and a lot of medical people with enough medical knowledge to stage that in a warehouse. I thought that was a little over the top. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, finding number 3, totally buy into it. Setting up the hospital, little much, other than cool factor to see Liz pull nails out of her arm.
Yeah, that was I got to tell you this. That whole scene, and you've got basically, I'm sure you've seen the episode if you're listening to this. Otherwise, we just spoiled all of it, and we're going to keep doing it. This whole fake hospital and soundstage, interesting idea. We've seen it in other shows before, but I thought it was done rather effectively. I mean, I honestly never bought they were in the hospital, but that's because I've seen too many TV shows. So that's not fair. I think Joe Public probably bought that she was in a hospital. Hal Cooper even bought that she was in a hospital. But the one thing I like about this show and what happened in this episode in particular is generally this is the damsel in distress moment. She's the one, Keen is the one that has the cast on. We've talked about this before, how they write very strong female characters on this show. She's the one in the cast. She's the one that's, in the hospital bed. You've got Ressler over there who's just incapacitated. Basically the roles are flipped. He is the damsel in distress. And he is consistently on the show where she comes through and saves his ass. You know what I mean?
Covered or not.
Yeah. And I love that aspect of it because, I've seen strong female characters in other shows, and it still seems like when push comes to shove and things are on the outs and, these two are in trouble, a lot of the time it's still the guy coming to the rescue. The fact that he doesn't get out of that room without her at all. He has no shot of surviving without her. In this instance, I thought was just fantastic for me. I just thought it's great because you don't see that kind of strength in a female character where they don't make it about the fact that she's female. She's just a strong character. And that to me is why the show is exceptional.
Nails, telephones, it's all good. She can handle it.
And she got those scissors. I got to say, the woman, the fake nurse, I'm assuming those are the only patients she has because it's a fake hospital. She probably would have picked up on the fact that the scissors were gone rather quickly, but, TV, what are you going to do?
My question is, who's the third patient in the room? I don't know if you caught that, but there was a third patient across from Liz next to Ressler.
There was?
Yeah. Like, what's that dude laying in the bed for?
Was there somebody? Really?
Yeah.
I only remember both those two in the room. There was a third person? Did they wheel him out?
They were the third person. They must have taken him out at some point afterwards, but on the initial scan of the room, there was a third patient, and I'm like, what's the third patient for?
Oh, that's probably Hank. He built the soundstage, and he was just taking a break.
Could be.
And they got him out of there real quick before things went south. And she's running around in her underwear grabbing scissors. Well, that was the main plot. The one thing I do want to know is on the phone, when she got the phone to make the call, which obviously, at first I was trying to figure out why they would ever let her use a phone. Because it seems like that would be a bad idea, but it played out very smart. I just didn't see it coming. When she's looking at her fingers and there's a little bit of, I guess, grime on her fingers or a yellow stain of some kind, what about that was a giveaway? I'm lost.
I was the same way with you until the rewatch, and I think on the rewatch, as he was packing up to leave after they got the information about the third scientist, that it was the ink from his tattoo. Because if you remember in the opening sequence, he had what looked like scimitars on his left hand. And then when he was being the doctor, it was like his tattoo was kind of washed off. And so I'm thinking maybe it was tattoo ink or something he was using to get the tattoo off of his hand so he wasn't identifiable.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, let's go into this week's characters. That's the crux of the main point of this episode. Is there anything more about that aspect you want to talk about?
No, I mean, other than I thought it was cliche, though, that, you have Ressler who's having the pill issue and Liz is calling him out on it. We can talk about it when we talk about Ressler. But the fact that he was the one that was drugged up in the hospital, I thought was kind of funny.
He just can't escape the drugs, man. Aram and Dembe, background characters again this week. They are very much minor characters, so they're them coming to the forefront is not going to be as often. And I think the show has established that at this point. I think we were given, a few episodes to see if maybe that was going to change and swing more in Dembe's favor. I never thought Aram was going to have much more of a point, but I always thought Dembe was going to have a deeper storyline other than the backstory from last week. And it looks like he's really just Red's bodyguard.
Well, and then do you buy now the fact that he could come up from behind somebody and point a gun at him when you know that he's not willing to shoot Jeff? If he's not going to shoot Jeff, he's not going to shoot anybody. I
don't agree with that. I think he wasn't okay with killing him in cold blood for him. That's what I think his problem was. I think Dembe's problem with killing Jeff last week was you're killing him in my name because of the pain I went through. And I'm telling you, Red, I'm over it. So I totally think Dembe would kill somebody. I have no doubt about that still.
Okay.
Cooper was he was a little bit more authoritative this episode. He got a little bit more screen time. He's been cheapened out the last couple episodes, but he got to throw his title around a few times. And I like to see that he was involved and he was confused in the whole hospital debacle. What did you think about Cooper? You think we got a little bit more time with him?
Yeah, and I really liked that he was trying to put forth this, I can't give you any more information. This is the best I got. And then he's still working. So it shows that he has the partnership and the negotiation skills with the other aspects of the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. That may come into play more down the line as we talk about the new Deputy Attorney General and Mr. Fitch's group as the season progresses. But then I really still like the fact that we opened up with he had this genuine concern for Liz in I think it was the second episode of this season. How you doing? Have you talked to the doctor? Just concerned about you. You could take time if you need it. This moving around stuff. And then here again, it's really great to hear from you, Liz. I'm so glad that you checked in. So I'm curious what the father-daughter relationship might be between the two of them. Not an actual father-daughter relationship, but this kind of bonding that Harold, for some reason, seems to care about Liz in more than just an agent way.
What do you mean more than an agent way?
I mean, it's one thing you're like, hey, thanks for checking in. But Harold, for some reason, seems to be moved in the safety of Liz in some way, shape, or form.
More than just I care for all of my agents?
Yes.
He cares for her in particular?
For some reason, whether he's in Red's back pocket because Red and him are friends and he's doing it as a favor for Red, or because he has some other thing, some loyalty to somebody else. It just seems like he cares about Liz more than a typical agent-boss relationship would play out.
Well, yeah, she's one of the stars of the show. He has to make sure she's safe. That's his job. There might be something to that. I don't see that as much as you do yet. How about that? I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm not seeing it as much as it's obviously prevalent for you.
Okay.
Ressler, he's still got a drug problem. And in fact, you wanted to talk about that. When they have their conversation, and basically King goes up to him and says, hey, buddy, you got a problem? He's like, no, I don't. I'm Ressler. I'm good. What about that scene did you have a problem with it, or you just thought it was funny?
Well, I just thought it was funny that he was the one that was in the hospital, doped up to be in a coma or whatever, because he was just sedated, right? It was just some sedation medication, but the fact that he was the one that was drugged up, I thought it was kind of funny based on his drug problem. But I really am torn on his kind of bravado, if you will, when he said that conversation with Liz about, hey, if I'm really that far over the line, I'll walk into Harold's office myself and let him know what's going on. Now, to me, that's something an addict says. So he's clearly over the line and needs some kind of 12-step program at this point, because anybody can say that. Would you actually do it? I don't know. And then when he pours the pills down the drain, again, something somebody does one time, but does it really make the problem go away without talking it out?
I couldn't agree with you more, man. It's an interesting dynamic where they have what corner they have put him in, Ressler. I'm very curious to see what happens with this character, how he gets out of it. How does this affect? You don't have this storyline for, what are we at, 7 episodes? You don't have that storyline for 7 episodes and not have some kind of payout or playoff of it. So I'm very curious how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, think about when his former fiance. I don't know if they ever truly got back together to fiance status when she died in Mako Taneda. Could this be something where we're building up to Ressler slips up on the job and one of his fellow agents gets injured or killed because he was high at the time?
I certainly hope not. Or maybe Liz. It will affect something with Liz. I'm still convinced that there's going to come a point where Red or Liz gets to use that addiction for their own benefit. Because it would be a really cool twist, and it would be a really dark twist. And I would like to see it. Like his mental state, because he's an addict, they can use that to basically to barter with him for something. I don't know what that something is. Maybe it's the Tom situation. I don't know.
Well, like you were saying, the psychologist in, I think it was the first episode, could she be on Red's payroll? Yep.
And I totally think she is. Totally think she is. Now, Samar, we've talked about how we haven't had much. She's been prominent in storylines a couple of times, but she really hasn't had any backstory. She hasn't had any detailed life. And this one, we get a lot of her life in this. If you really pay attention, we found out about her brother. Now, do you think her brother was a jihadist, or was he just caught with the wrong people and things went bad?
I think there was truth in what the Scimitar said. I think that he wasn't in that square of his own accord. He wanted to be there. Now, whether he was the bomber himself or helped the bomber in some way, I don't know. But to me, there was truth in what the Scimitar said, which I think is why it pushed Samar over the edge to actually put one in his head.
Now, when she took out the guy in Dubai, hey, look at that. I'm like Eminem right now. That was part of a mission because obviously, Red called her on it right at the beginning of the episode. But do you think there was personal inclinations in that as well?
I'm assuming anything that Samar does is to get information about what happened with her brother in some way, shape, or form. She's kind of like Red in that way, and I think that's what Red sees in her and why Red wants her on his team.
Well, you called it earlier. I said I wasn't sure that she was actually on Red's payroll, but as soon as she hangs up, not even hangs up with him, hangs up on him.
Cuts him off.
She just hung up on him. I mean, doesn't even say bye, toodles, we'll talk about your dysfunction later, nothing, just click, hits the phone. It was very rude. It was totally not necessary.
And that was mid-question. She's like, okay, so what's the next move, Iran? Click.
I give a chance to respond. I got to call my real boss. Well, you called that one. She's definitely in his pocket. And she's a cold-blooded assassin. So now I ask you, do you think she still has a moral compass? She seems honorable. She's portrayed very honorably. But do you think the character herself actually is an honorable person?
Well, I think that was something that they were really trying to showcase in this episode because for the most part, her honor is who she is. Number one, as the honor to her family, trying to figure out what happened to her brother. And then the honor as a Mossad agent. There's rules as it pertains to Mossad. Mossad comes first, your personal vendetta comes second, and you'll be sanctioned and all this. And they literally bring up these rules of engagement for a Mossad, even at the end when she's face-to-face with the Scimitar. Like, if you kill me, not of the Mossad accord, then you're doing this in cold blood. So does she have a moral compass up until the point of putting one in the Scimitar's head? I think so. The question is that cold-blooded murder at the end the tearing up of that moral compass, or is it just something you would do because it's your family?
I think she still has some. I think it's probably a compliment to the actress. The fact that I still believe she has moral fiber even after those events, I think is directly attributed to her. I think she's portrayed very honorably, very stoically, she just does a wonderful job. So I'm grateful she's on the show. She's been a great addition, really. She's quite a find for the show, and I think she's been very beneficial for growing certain plot lines. Now, at the end of the episode, she's given that choice, and she chooses, obviously, to kill him because they find his body. How, in your mind, does this play out for Red's benefit? Because he doesn't do this just because he's a nice guy.
Well, I'm going to back it up because, again, you say, show me dead body to prove death. I say, show me pull trigger to prove shooting actually happened. Because you had this conversation with Red and Liz and Samar in the record store where she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. That's so awesome. Right. It's kind of like Liz's expression. Mm-hmm. And then they're at the river and, hey, he's got one in his head. And she kind of either completely shrugs it off, assuming that she killed him, or she didn't put two and two together that Samar actually did this. Because I don't think she knew Samar went to meet Red to meet the Scimitar. So why would she have any inkling that Samar would have done this, right? Because she doesn't know anything about the backstory, about the brother. So on one side of the coin, because Liz doesn't know about that, it makes sense that Samar did the shooting. But who's to say that Samar didn't hire somebody to do the shooting for her, so she didn't actually commit the trigger pull? Otherwise, you would have just showed it to me, right? I mean, literally, Red turns around and kills Jeff last week. Red blows away Diane last year. If you want to kill somebody, they're going to show it to you on the screen. So if Samar was going to pull the trigger and do this in cold blood, rules of the Blacklist say they just would have shown it, Samar pulling the trigger. And because they didn't, it leaves that little hint of doubt that maybe someone else killed him.
I don't have any doubt. I'm 100% positive she did it. So you have doubt. And I'm just saying you've probably been more accurate on some of these guesses than I have. But you have doubt. I don't have any doubt. I'm pretty sure she put two in the head, or one in the head. How many he had in the head, that's how many she gave. That guy had it coming. I'm cool with it.
Definitely had it coming. I'll agree with that. Yeah,
he makes fake hospitals. Who does that? In a time of Ebola, we cannot allow things like that. That guy had to go. He had to go. Now, Tom, speaking of people that have to go, what do you say is Tom's fate? Now, he reviewed the options while he's sitting on this boat / freighter / basement / whatever else it could possibly be, because apparently it's a Rubik's Cube of different things. He reviewed his options because there aren't many that Liz can take. If he can either be let go, which means there is the potential for harm to her down the road, right? He can be turned in, which could potentially, now that's potentially if Cooper isn't aware of her situation, which we both kind of think Cooper is. But that could, affect her position and could get her fired, or just flat out killed. Kill him. Those are really your three options. I don't know of a third option. So which do you think is most likely?
I'll give you option 4 because of what happens at the end of this episode, and because Tom is tied to Berlin. Maybe they need Tom in order to progress forward, whoever the person is that's pulling all the strings. That we'll find out in the second half of the season.
Well, that would be letting him go.
Tom survives.
Tom survives / letting him go. Turned in or killed. Which one do you think is most likely?
Let go.
Huh? So you don't think there's a chance he gets killed?
How far his leash extends is the question. Like either Red tails him, or Liz tails him, or the FBI tails him, or Berlin tails him. It's kind of like when Liz was talking to the weapons guy. What was his name? Savan Volkov. Mm-hmm. Right. I just put your name on the FBI most wanted list, and it's going to have it signed. So either you can help me find Berlin, or Berlin can find you. I think that's the kind of situation Tom is going to be in. But he's going to have it from Berlin, and he's going to have it from Red, and he's going to have it from Liz. So his leash is going to be short, but his purpose will still be very much standing upright.
Okay, fair enough. Now, do you think, I'm on the opinion that he won't be killed, but I actually think he's going to be turned in. I think that it's going to go against what people think. I think he's actually going to be turned in, and then the task force has to use him for something. I'm not sure what that is, but that's what I think.
So you say turned in, but the same leash concept.
Yes, because I think Cooper's aware, which means killing is off the table. If that's my theory, I have to see all options. Cooper wouldn't allow him to be brutally murdered. I don't think Liz is at that point. I think she's playing a character right now. I definitely think she's darker, but I don't think she's that dark yet. And
she brought him clothes for their anniversary.
See?
She loves them.
I don't know if it's for her anniversary. I mean, really, happy anniversary. You're in a freighter. Locked in here. Chained, man. Chained. Of course, that actually sounds like most of my anniversaries. Now I just got sad. So I don't know what's going to happen to him. It's going to be really interesting. Do you think we're going to find out next week on the fall finale? Or is that going to be held over, you think?
No, I'm sure Tom will be in play by the end. At a minimum, he'll be in play by the end of the episode.
Okay. Well, let's go to... Well, speaking of the clothes, we got to talk about that real quick. Do you think that means she cares? Or is she just making sure he doesn't get frostbite?
Maybe she has to give him clothes because she doesn't have Berlin at that point in the episode. So she needs to keep him alive until she gets to Berlin. Once she gets to Berlin, then all bets are off. So because she doesn't have Berlin's location yet, maybe that's why she's sympathetic and says, okay, warm up a little bit because I still need you.
So you don't think she still cares about him?
I still think she cared about him from day one. I think there was something about the whole, you want this annulment, but you're going to keep the last name from the season opener. There's something going on there. She has feelings for Tom. What's that syndrome where you fall in love with your captor? I forget what it's called, but she has that in some way, shape, or form. So I think that they won't have a perfect relationship. They won't have a loving relationship, but they still care about each other and each other's well-beings in the end.
Okay. I'll definitely see how that plays out. And like you said, it should be next episode. I got a feeling a lot of things are going to be resolved next episode, setting us up for when the series restarts after the Super Bowl. Zoe, that poor girl. Now, first off, I just want to say Red is an SOB for taking her when she obviously did not want to ever see her father again. He could have just taken a picture of her, That might have convinced him. Taking some video, have her hold a newspaper from a different city's newspaper with a date on it, something along those lines. But instead, he drugs this poor girl, who obviously has already had a nightmare of a life, and drags her to see Berlin, which was the bomb that NBC kept talking about. That was the tagline for every commercial. Red drops a bomb, which I assume meant a rap song of some sort. So did you see this coming?
Well, I was the one that I think initially you were like, well, who is Zoe? And I said, I don't think Zoe's Red's daughter. I think Zoe's Berlin's daughter. So I called that.
I automatically always said it wasn't Red's daughter.
Right.
Because he never says my daughter. He says that girl, the girl. Yep.
Right. But I said it was potentially Berlin's daughter.
Well, your cookie's in the mail.
Right. But the fact that he would actually go face to face with Berlin and just start spouting off, especially when Berlin is expecting to see somebody else. Mm-hmm. I mean, cojones right there. Totally. Yeah. And then to be like, are you talking about this daughter? Because that ain't my daughter. And that scene, I think, was just epic in how it went down. Now, predictable, I think, is the question that we have to keep asking ourselves. Was it the bomb at the end of the day? I don't know. Something about it felt flat. And
really? How so? Why do you say that?
Because I had a feeling when he was like, the girl is important to my war with Berlin. And I said, okay, well, then the girl's Berlin's daughter. Somehow he uses leverage to get Berlin to, drop the war because they have to go focus on 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if they team up together, Wonder Twins, power activate style, it'll be kind of interesting. It'll be like the super badass couple ever. But, to me, maybe it was just because I could see it coming that when she came out of the car and Berlin was... Because he comes out and has this whole conversation with Berlin, and she's in the car. So maybe if we didn't know she was in the car, then it would have been more of a shock. But because you have the scene about, well, do you have a daughter? Yes. Have you seen your father? No. And he does the drug thing. Then it's like it doesn't pay off as well.
It's almost like he's just sitting there going, hey, if I happen to have a girl in the car that looks just like your daughter, would you think it was your daughter? Because I might have a girl in the car that looks just like your daughter. Things like that. It's a little too on the nose.
Exactly. I think it would have had more impact just to be like, hey, let's go for a drive. And they just go, because it does suck that he has to drug her, right? I mean, number one, don't eat sardines. They are gross. It's disgusting. They're little tiny fish. Eat a big fish. Eat a raw fish. Don't eat sardines. And you don't eat sardines.
Eat a steak. Don't eat a fish. Eat a steak.
Sardines with wine, beer totally would be way better. So that's a clear tip off that something is going to be drugged in that conversation.
Oh, yeah. Someone offers sardines. I automatically assume drugging. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the part that I thought this week was just kind of like, okay, because he drugged her and because we already know he's trying to find Berlin, or Liz is trying to find Berlin and tell Red, hey, I'm trying to find Berlin to kill him, that, okay, boom, you just gave me the answer that that's Berlin's daughter before the big reveal even happened. And so that's why when the reveal happened, it's like, yeah, got it. Move on, check.
Yeah, I think here's the one thing I wish marketing people would understand. And I realize they're just trying to get you to tune into that episode. It really becomes dropping a bomb when we don't know it's coming. When you keep advertising it to us, generally all us addicts, like all of us listening and talking and everything, we're obviously, we love TV, we love the show. We know a lot of the finer turns it's going to take. So it's not as big a bomb to us because we're just sitting there looking for everything. So when it happens, we're just so exhausted from all the other options we've ran through our heads. It's not as big a bomb as it probably would have been otherwise. Well, and it was a great plot twist, though.
It totally was. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We're not saying that it was a bad scene. We're not saying it was a bad timing. It just, because you kind of had this whole story of finding Berlin and then Red drugs her, you're like, okay, 2 and 2 put together, it's Berlin's daughter. So that when it's Berlin's daughter, the line of, you mean this daughter? Because that's not my daughter, doesn't pay off like it would if you had no backstory. And that's why I put it out on Twitter. I said, were you excited or let down by that reveal? And Kimberly said that she was let down because she thought that it was too predictable. But then one Jamie said excited that Zoe wasn't Red's daughter in the end. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have people on both sides of the coin that are like, oh, I loved it. And they're going to have other people that are like, yeah, totally saw it coming.
Hey, but the one plus, nobody thought it sucked. Just wasn't as
it wasn't as
surprising.
The bomb that the marketing department put out there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes with because you're expecting it. So as soon as you hear that, you run through every scenario in your head, or a lot of people watching do, and you're bound to have come to that conclusion. And then unfortunately, the cynic hipster and some people takes over, and they're like, I saw that was coming. I knew that was coming. I knew that 4 episodes ago. People like Troy. He just already wrote it down. He had the script in his pocket, and he's like, yeah, I saw it happen.
I mean, it's not like, it's not like in the season premiere, the marketing department said, watch the 45th minute when Liz is going to use a simple tool to do something amazing, and then she stabs Red in the carotid artery. When she stabs Red in the carotid artery, your mouth literally goes, holy crap, did that just happen? I can't believe that just happened. That's awesome. And that's the wow factor that you want from a reveal. Like, nope, that's your daughter, dude.
Yeah,
what you gonna do now?
It was still good though, and I'm glad that part of the story is kind of put to bed. Now, from here on out, what happens, I don't know, because he still took Naomi's fingers, and he has caused quite a bit of pain. He put someone into Keen's life. I'm talking about Berlin, that basically married her and pretended to love her, and now she has chained up on a freighter. So there is going to be some payback on Red's end, but obviously he needs Berlin as well. So I don't know. I'm really curious how this story goes forward. But I do want to point out that it's interesting because we talked about this last week, how when the fall finale happens and we come back, because the airing, when there's like a 2.5, 3 month break before the show comes back on. And we talked about how when it airs after the Super Bowl, when you talked about how Alias kind of reinvented the show at that point. This really seems like it's going a direction similar to that, because the Berlin storyline has really been the ongoing proponent for most of the series. And you put that to bed, which it seems like it's getting put to bed, you definitely have the opportunity to almost reinvent the series. Not change it, just reestablish the path. Right,
because there is still 7654321. There's still Mr. Fitch. There's still his little group of posse or whatever they stand for, and that has to be explored. And wouldn't it be great if Mr. Fitch was pulling the strings all along, and he's the one that burned Red's family, and he's the one that also convinced Berlin that Red killed Berlin's daughter.
Yeah, this is going to come into the fall finale, the fall finale quite heavily, I do believe. How about Keen? We've talked about Red quite a bit. Let's talk about Keen, and we'll talk about Red one more bit before we go. But do you think she would actually be okay with Berlin being killed?
Yes.
Or was that just talk for Red?
No, 100%. She's like, he killed Myrna. You know, he almost killed Cooper. He put Tom in my life. The dude's just pissed me off. I am done. I'm taking that guy out if I got to do it myself.
So you think she set this meeting up because she assumed Red was going to kill him?
Yes.
And now Red is not killing him. Why do you think he chose not to?
Because he wants to find 7654321. He wants to find everybody else because he wants to know why. Because now Red's pissed off, right? He's not pissed off at Berlin. He's pissed off at whoever caused this 20-year war to take place with Berlin because it's been so taxing, so trying, so frustrating that he couldn't focus on his family and putting his family back together after the supposed fire that happened on Christmas Eve. You know, that's what's frustrating Red now. So Red's like, these guys ruined your life. These guys ruined my life. Let's work together to find out who the hell did this.
So why would he? I mean, because he gave her the belief that he was going to kill him.
He still might, just not yet.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's really, the truth is in his words. You really got to pay attention to what that guy says.
We still think that Red may kill Liz in the end of the day.
I do. Yep, absolutely. Or want to. I don't know if he will. Want to. So what do you think is going to happen from this point forward? I mean, in terms of he's going to have to deal with Liz and the fact that he didn't kill Berlin, or do you think he keeps that a secret?
I mean, eventually information is going to flow through Tom. So number one, it's going to be offsetting penalties, to use a sports analogy for football, since it is football season. You know, Red's going to go, oh, you were hiding Tom in a basement and you didn't tell me. And Liz is going to be like, oh, well, you talked to Berlin and you didn't kill him. And they're just going to be like, yeah, okay, we'll agree to disagree and move along.
Now suddenly it's a Brady Bunch episode?
Totally.
I hope they get the little boxes, the faces. That would be cool. Okay, well, what about Tom? Do you think if it came down to it, she could kill Tom? Or you think because you said from day one she loves him,
she already shot him. She already shot him once.
Didn't kill him.
No,
he's
but
still alive.
She assumed that the first time she shot him, killed him. And then, of course, she's just a bad shot at that point because she's all stressed out because it's Tom, because she has feelings for him and stuff. So at this point, could she do it again? No. She had her chance. She missed. And now she has to live with that. And because of that, she won't be able to do it again.
So how did you feel about her arc through the episode? I mean, going after the scientist, getting stuck in the fake hospital, cutting her cast off, pulling pins out. What were the pins doing in the arm just to cause pain so it made it feel like it was broken?
Yeah, I said it was broken in 3 places and you're going to need surgery to repair it in order to get full mobility back. So it was to completely trick out her psyche because she couldn't see the nails because of the cast on there. So to her brain, to her muscles, that's why she was kind of like, well, if it's broken, why can't I move my fingers?
Oh, now we're Dr. Troy.
Yeah.
Look at this. He's got an in-depth analysis. He's like, look, I went to med school.
It's like acupuncture. If you hit the right nerves, you can totally make it seem immobile, even though it's not.
Dr. Troy. No longer agent. Now he's Dr. Troy. That's what we should call you from now on.
Agent Troy, PhD.
Anything further on the Red scenario?
The
Keen scenario?
The thing with Red this week is I still want to know what, like you said at the beginning, what was the point? What was the need to take the Scimitar off the map? Mm-hmm. Or was it truly just to solidify his relationship with Agent Arabi?
That's really what I got out of it. I've tried to rack my brain, and seriously, for this show, I hope you guys understand, we always watch the episode twice, just because there's obviously little things that we're going to miss. Both of us miss things, and we'll talk about it before the show and hopefully get as much of what happens out there. And I didn't see anything other than solidifying his position. I really just think that's all it was. I think he needs her in his pocket. That's all I got.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, guys, next week is going to be a fantastic show. We've still got a little bit more of a show for you. But I just want to remind you, make sure to come back next week and make sure to check out the Twitter at the Blacklist GSM next week, because we're going to be live tweeting the fall finale. It looks to be intense. It really looks to be intense.
Now, we have grown the listening community quite a bit, too, to get into that fall finale. And we just wanted to take a really quick thank you here to thank GK4271, JC18750, and Jimmy MD. See, they got another doctor in the house, for leaving us some iTunes reviews this week. If you love the show and what we just, we can't express our gratitude enough. It's a lot of people listening. We really, really love the theories and the thoughts and the interactions. So go on out to iTunes, leave us a review, let us know what parts of the show you like the best, and, of course, which fan theories you like the best, because we want to be able to share that with the fans, of course, as well, to keep the intel flowing. Now, Aaron, that is not the only way, though, that people can help out the show.
Definitely is not. In fact, if you guys want to be a part owner of the show, I said owner, you can contribute as little as $1 a month to show your appreciation and show your support of everything we do here at the Blacklist Exposed. All you need to do is head over to goldenspiralmedia.com/Patreon. That's Patreon. That's goldenspiralmedia.com/Patreon to show us some love. We have some great rewards and prize levels waiting for you. And if you can contribute more, great. If you can only throw us $1, we understand. It helps the show. So anything is appreciated. Before we head over to Red's Rhetoric, we do want to remind you to check us out on our other shows. I do a weekly film and TV podcast known as The Hollywood Outsider. It's available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And Troy is currently covering season 2 of Resurrection with Resurrection Revealed, which is available at resurrectionrevealed.com. Now, with that, let's move on to this week's Red's Rhetoric.
At the end of the day, the man with the top hat and mustache is always fun to play. You all chose Red Monopoly as the winner for last week's Red's Rhetoric. This week, our first clip comes during the conversation that Red has with Samar and Liz in the record store as he explains the motives of the Scimitar.
George Orwell wrote, "Those who abjure violence can do so only because others are committing violence on their behalf." What a visionary. But good Lord, his books are a downer. In any case, the bad news is I was sharing a bowl of shisha with a Missouri minister, and they plan to retaliate. You kill their top scientists, they intend to kill yours. And they've dispatched a man known as the Scimitar to do it.
The Scimitar?
This is not your average killer, Agent Keen. He's 1 part hitman, 2 parts con man.
Our last clip comes at the end of the episode when Red confronts Berlin as to the things he holds dear in his life.
It's surprising she came to me instead of the Bureau with the hope that I would kill you. I have other plans. First, understand, I didn't have to come here alone. In fact, I didn't have to come here at all. I could have sent 7 men and put an end to this war.
Why didn't you?
Because this entire affair, every ounce of pain and suffering that all of us have endured has been the result of a tragic and, frankly, mysterious misunderstanding, one I intend to correct. There's not much left I truly cherish in this world, but I swear, on those few things I still hold dear, I did not kill your daughter.
Words. The greater the words, the larger the lie.
Which clip from Red this week do you like best? Send us a tweet at the Blacklist GSM with the hashtag RedViolence, or send us the hashtag RedLife.
Let's go to this week's Special Agent Intel. Terry wrote in on Facebook, "I love the dark side of Lizzie, and I think Samar is coming into her own." I want to stop you right there. I think Lizzie is getting really dark, and I'm actually very happy. I'll finish your message in a second. I just want to point that out. I think she's getting really dark, and I really like it. Love the turns her character has taken and how she's gone from such a wide-eyed, just new agent to being this dark, angry, twisted person that we all know and love now. I just love that turn. Now, she continues on, I like her on the show this week. She seemed to have more relevance. Let me get ahead of myself for a minute here. I believe all of these people are pawns of Fitch's, and that he is the root of all evil. Now, Fitch is Alan Alda, right?
Correct.
I believe he has set Red up with all of these criminals, including the body parts that went to Berlin. Red cannot reveal his fatherhood to Liz until they are all taken out, as they would all love to destroy her to hurt Red. So one by one, he must destroy them or prove his innocence as he did to Berlin to make the playing field safe to be a real father to her. This won't be revealed for some time, possibly even the end of the series. I think Fitch has tried to destroy him as far back as the fire. I do want to tell you, Terry, the creator, John Bokenkamp, has gone on record and said that we will not know for certain what the relationship is between those two until the last season of the series. So you can rest assured we won't know for sure until the series, like you said, the end of the series.
The relationship between Fitch and Red, or the relationship between Red and Liz?
Red and Liz.
Okay.
Red and Liz. They're holding that, whatever it is, until the very end, which I think we all expected. I wouldn't even call that a spoiler. Everybody kind of expects that. Now, the dark side of Lizzie, as I talked about a second ago, I love that aspect of the show. It's something I didn't expect to see so soon in the series, but it has, for my money, held very true to what would happen in a similar situation if it were real life. One thing I hate about TV is how people can go on for years and years and years continuing to trust people that they should have stopped trusting years ago. You know what I mean? It happens in TV all the time. And how do you still believe them? I don't know. Because that's Bob. I like Bob. I've known Bob for a long time. Here, when loyalties are tested and trusts are betrayed, people hold true to that and their relationship changes. And I appreciate it. I really hope the show continues to do so. And you've got an email from Jess?
Yeah, Jess actually wrote in and said, "Hey, Troy and Aaron, some quick thoughts on last night's episode. I'm now convinced that Lizzie is definitely Red's daughter." Yeah, you're the only one. That scene at the end completely confirms it for me, and I'm assuming she's saying because Zoe is Berlin's daughter that she is making the jump that Red is Liz's father. The scenes with Tom were a little bit of a letdown this week, but I think they were setting everything up for the finale next week. As far as thoughts on who told Berlin that Red had killed his daughter, I think that we are either going to be introduced to a completely new character that will set up the rest of the season, or it's going to be Mr. Fitch and company. Is it Finch? Fitch? I get confused with that person of interest stuff. Anyway, whatever she gets confused with person of interest. I said Fitz during season 1 because I watched Scandal. So, yeah, Mr. Fitch, Fitch, Fitch. Anyway, whatever the reveal is next week, it has to be something huge so that it carries everyone over for the next few months until we get the new episode after the Super Bowl. That's all for now. Really looking forward to next week, as we all are.
Oh, I can't wait to see what they do. It should be good.
Now, I did throw another question out there. Speaking of this wow factor or this pizzazz or letdown at the end of the episode, I said, with the Lizzie secret reveal and with the girl reveal, has the Blacklist lost kind of that wow or shock factor? Sandy said just a tad, but I'm giving it the sophomoric benefit of the doubt. Aaron said, nope, because they still have Red and he's just good to look at and he has great lines. Jen said, I don't think it's lost anything. I think there are more reveals to come. And John said, I don't need big surprises every week. It's Red's dialogue that makes the show.
I agree with all of them. And I don't need big surprises every week. Just make a consistently entertaining show that moves forward, that blends together, where the storylines don't get crazy. They don't go all X-Files at the end of the series, and I'm happy.
Yeah, and just for the record, love the show. No qualms about it. Just saying that you get more pop for those reveals if the marketing department can scale back just a little bit. And, of course, if you don't set it up too easily to walk right into the reveal at the end.
Except I just want to tell everybody listening, next week on our show, we're going to drop a bomb.
And we're not going to tell you when. It's not the first 5 minutes. It's not the last 5 minutes. It's just going to be sometime during the show.
But it is coming. The bomb is coming. Is there anything else you want to cover this week? Or are we pretty much we can wrap this baby up?
Yeah, I think we're good. We covered basically that Red wants Samar in his back pocket. Ressler is trying to kick the habit all by himself. Liz is a super duper goddess and she can beat up anybody she wants to.
And looks good in her underwear, even though she doesn't need to be.
Right. And pulls nails out of her skin with little to no force whatsoever. And based on that, I think just remember that whenever you have a WebEx session at your office, to put the little Post-it note over the camera, because you never know who's going to be watching.
That's so creepy. That's exactly what I thought when I got my Xbox One. Like, everybody can see in my living room now. And also, Aram, that poor guy can't catch a break. I thought he was making some movement there with Samar, and she hung up on him. I'm just so mad about that. Well, that's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter this season at The Blacklist GSM. We live tweet during the East Coast feed, and we will use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist. We also have a Facebook group. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed and join us for the fun. Also, the website. We will have all the episode intel and analysis, as well as links to subscribe to the feed in iTunes and Stitcher. That way you don't miss an episode. Just visit goldensparrowmedia.com/theblacklist for details.
Intel from all of you is what we want. You can do that a few ways. You can call us on the telephone at +1 304 837 2278. Or if you don't like talking on the phone and just want to use your smartphone to leave us a voicemail in a different way, like Jess did earlier, you can go ahead and use our send voicemail button right over on the feedback page. That's at goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback. And of course, if you don't want to say your voice or any way, shape, or form at all, then if you can just send in a written comment right there on the feedback page as well.
And as you leave your feedback, be sure to mention the Blacklist Exposed, and a big thank you for listening this week. And don't forget to answer our profiling question of the week, which is, who has been playing Red in Berlin all of these years?
Again, to answer that profiling question of the week, just go ahead and follow us on Twitter, drop us a note on Facebook. And until next time, I am Agent Troy Heinritz. You can follow me on Twitter at Troy Heinritz. And, of course, if you're a fan of Resurrection on ABC, check out my other podcast at resurrectionrevealed.com.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can find me talking about movies and TV, all the movies, all the TV, on the Hollywood Outsider podcast. That's at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And you can find me on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to come back next time as we chat about the fall finale. Oh, it's here! In the meantime, make sure to keep yourself off of
The Blacklist. The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production, copyright 2014. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.